Faith is not just to believe that there is a God out there. Faith is not just merely to believe in the existence of a God. Probably that could be the beginning, like children, when we teach children about faith, or to help them to begin to have to trust in God, to believe in God. We teach them that is the elementary part of Christian living. But a mature faith is more than just someone who just believes, well, I believe there is a God. No, it's more than that. Faith, mature faith, begins when you know the will of God and you're willing to do it. That's the beginning of faith. When you know what the Father wants and you are willing to entrust everything into that mission, not your own will, but the will of the Father. I know what the Father wants, and I'm willing to do that. That is where true faith begins. So just to say, well, I go to church every Sunday, I believe in God. Even the devil believes that God exists and trembles. So, to believe, to have faith, is what, in the second reading today, we are made known what Abraham's faith was all about. When Abraham was revealed what the Father wanted, leave what you know to what you do not know. So faith is always in the journey, but it must go through the will of the Father. It's not just a faith that is just going, no. It must go in journey with the will of the Father. What the Father wants. Told Abraham, leave your father's land to a land that I will show you do not know. Leave your comfort zone to something you are not even sure of. And he obeyed. That was faith. That was faith. True faith, a matured faith, the willingness to give in to the will of the Father. And that is what is about our celebration of St. Albert, our parish. The journey of men and women who are willing to know what the Father wanted. And they are willing, no matter the sacrifice, no matter the pay they have to pay in order to do what the Father wanted. Here I am, Lord, to do your will. That is faith. Here I am, Lord, to do not what I want, but what you want. That is faith. And what Jesus said in the gospel reading today, a servant who knows what the Father wants, a servant who knows what his master wants and is willing to do it, we receive the reward. When I came to this parish, I didn't know much about St. Albert. I must tell you the truth. I didn't know. But this is not about me, researching which parish is the best. That's not me. It's not my kind of person. So when I was called by the bishop and said, I want you to go to St. Albert. That was the first time ever I look up St. Albert. I don't care. That was ever the first time. It wasn't like anything. Let me just be honest with you. At that point, I didn't even know whether to be happy or to be sad. Because I'm going to an unknown territory, right? I don't know. I don't know any of you. I don't know what it's going to turn out to be. But there's one thing, first of all, I seek at the beginning of my journey to say, God, what is your will for me in this parish? Because for me, that is the primary thing. God, what do you want? I do not just want to be the part of the history that has happened to St. Albert. What do you want? And God told me clearly, I need a family in this place. I need a family. That was exactly what God said. And you think that is easy? A family from people from different places, different culture, looking differently. How are they going to be one family? God says, that is my will. Yeah. Probably this is my first time I'm saying that. Is it going to be easy? Has it been easy? Nowhere. To unify people, God says, I don't just want a parish. I want people, because that is what heaven will look like. I want this parish to resemble people from all races, language, and culture coming together to form one family. And that is what we have been trying to do. So when you see everything we are doing, bringing everyone together, I know not everyone like it, but it's okay. It's okay. I didn't come here to do your will, but to do the will of the one that I will give account. I know that very well. I will give him account of my stay here. Because if I choose what is comfortable, then where the reward is. So when you see us trying to try many things, because for you to arrive to unify and have a one family, it's not just by desiring it. There are different things that needed to be done. And first of all, I had to deal with my own biases in order to bring everybody. That's what we did yesterday evening, part of it. Bringing everybody together. And I ask you to feel comfortable. Because that's the will of the Father. And that will of the Father, which the Father wanted from me, can never be done without you. It can never be achieved without each and every one of us. And on that you will also give God account. It says, who does not know the will of the Father and acted ignorantly may be different. But one who knows the will of the Father and chooses never to do the will of the Master will be punished severely. And that is where our faith, brothers and sisters, lies. We are not just a community that just gathered every Sunday and pray to God and go home. Your salvation will be achieved. Listen to me. Your salvation, go and mark it anywhere. Your salvation will be achieved through this pathway called St. Albert. It's not by accident that God brought you here. I don't care how you ended up here. Your salvation and sanctification in this world to heaven will be achieved through this pathway. If you walk and allow God to use you and I to achieve God's own plan, not my plan. And it says, to whom much is given. The grace that God has given you and I must be put into action. I do not wake up any morning just to say, well, I want to do this. I bring it first. And most of the things I do is something from nowhere. God put it into my heart and it begins to burn like a fire. You know, we came up to say we want to honor parishioner. This is not me trying to do something nobody has. That was how the Father put it in my heart, because it's for a reason. It was for a reason that God said, I want you to look among, in these 55 years, men and women who have truly, because these men and women will end up being an example for the next generation. Yeah. So never think that, Father, thank you for your initiative. It wasn't my initiative. It was God's own initiative, because that is the pathway to unite. We gathered everyone, Spanish, whatever they speak, Indians, everyone, Nigerians, Africa, whatever. Everybody sitting together comfortably. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever we did yesterday, we are not saying it was perfect. We learn and make it better as we go. But you needed to start from somewhere. Abraham left what was known to the unknown. That is faith. The journey that begins when you hear what the Father wanted, the Master wanted, and you're willing to engage yourself. But fear will always pose itself and say, well, what if it fails? I have thought about that. Faith, nevertheless fear. God, how am I going to achieve that? I have struggled my own struggle at the beginning and continue to struggle. Many of you saw what happened this morning. Right? That is God's package. God never promised that everything will be perfect. Sometimes God puts you on your heels We had 7 a.m. mass this morning. Everything was perfect. As soon as I just get into my, my residence, okay, let me just, do one thing before I come. The alarm went off. Start running. This is the person all week we have been running, right? And God, you could have allowed me to chill. And said, no. God said, no. Keep running. And in that, I still put my trust. There is no atom of regret to say, well, God, what have you put me into? That is part of it. That is God at work. There are people who are discouraged. A little thing, you get discouraged, you complain. No. Because you thought that everything will be perfect. No, there has never been a way where everything will be perfect. Sometimes God allows things to happen. And still you embrace God's will. That's what the second reading said today. Not without sacrifice. Never without sacrifice. If you think you're going to make heaven without sacrifice, brother, sister, that is not true. It has never been like that, and it will never be like that. We will never enter heaven without sacrifice. We must be willing to do the uncomfortable. God always put us on the path of uncomfortable, because through that path of uncomfortable, God is already sanctifying us. You don't have to be perfect to begin. But on the process of going, trusting God, that is where perfection comes in. Perfection is the gift of God. And we achieve it when we trust in Him, doing the little we can. And that is what, dear brothers and sisters, Sabbath is all about. I feel so thrilled each time I see. This is the flock that God has entrusted to me. That is what it is. And sometimes people come to you and say, oh, Father, your church is too small. Your church, you don't have too many people. I say, but that's what the Lord gave to me. And I'm okay with that. I am never in competition. I do not even dream that as of today, I should be in another place. That would be an error on my part. Oh, my life could have been better if I am in so parish. That is an error, because that is never the will of God. Where I am today, because I never asked anybody. I never even asked Bishop, put me as St. Albert, put me as St. Martha, put me as St. Andrew. I'm not the type of person that run around to say, where are you going to put me? Because wherever God places me, that is where God wants. Because me serving this community is part of me going to heaven. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to guide all of us. And the journey of our faith, dear brothers and sisters, is when you know the will of God. And I have made it very clear to you, all of you today. God wants us in Albert just a family, not just a parish. And we're going to do everything, sometimes uncomfortable things, to achieve that which is the Father has entrusted to us. So as we celebrate our feast day today, the Lord is asking us, where lies your faith? Is your faith just a passive thing? Or are you allowing God to put that faith in action? So we pray for that grace today. Because at the end, we will give God account. And when that account looks good, there will always be a reward. And I remind all of us at the end of this, remember, your heaven is this pathway. Stop running here and there. If God, who brought you to St. Albert, He brought you so that you will make heaven through this pathway. No matter the sacrifice it entails, embrace it and make it your own.